The Chronological Bible reading for March 13th is Deuteronomy chapters 5 through 7, a retelling of the Ten Commandments. And I find it interesting how much time, how many words are spent on each of the commandments in relation to one another. You look at the similarities between the sentence structures, but also the differences. Which of the commandments receives the most attention? Is that because it's the most important? Probably not. I think they're all equally as important, but maybe it's because it's the one most likely to be misunderstood. There are a lot of explanatory words that go into the command not to make idols, not to make false gods. Don't make any image of God. Don't say God is like this or God is like that. Don't say the God I serve would never do this, because it's not our place to define what God will do or what he won't do. He is who he is. He is who he was. He is who he will forever be. But Yahweh and Moses spend the most time talking about the Sabbath day. Are Christians today to keep the Ten Commandments? Most people would say, yes, but not really. We keep the commandments, but it's not because we're keeping the commandments. It's just because loving our God and loving other people will naturally fulfill all of the commandments, except for keeping the Sabbath. So we're under grace, right? But why so much attention? Why so many words describing the importance of keeping the Sabbath? Chapter 5 verse 12 says, "Be careful to remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy as Yahweh your God has commanded you. You are to labor 6 days and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to Yahweh your God. Don't do any work, you, your son or your daughter, your male or female slave or servant, your ox or donkey, any of your livestock, or the resident alien who lives within your city gates, so that your male and female slaves may rest as you do. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and Yahweh your God brought you out of there with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. That is why Yahweh your God has commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Why? Because you were a slave, but God has set you free. So spend an entire day each and every week just thinking about that, dwelling on the Word of God, remembering what God has done for you, telling your children. Everybody stops. Everybody takes a day off. Everybody together remembers the holiness of God, how wonderful he is, how well he has provided, all of the things he's done for us, all of his promises about our future. We think about his law and why it is good and why it is revealed to us through nature that he created. We dwell together and we think. We are the most deceived people in the history of the world. We have been lied to by our governments and by the media. We have been lied to by college professors and scientists backed by big corporations who just want more control and more money, by politicians who are funding their own lives through war and money laundering, by financial institutions that want to keep us broke and poor and enslaved through debt. There is a revolving door between the government agencies that are supposed to protect us and the corporations that are making trillions of dollars off of the products that they sell to us that are recommended and licensed through those government agencies. But we're so busy and distracted, we never take time to think about these things. We never open ourselves up to the fact that God is in control. And if we looked to him rather than only to so-called experts who often are very well-meaning people, but they are ill-equipped to truly help us because the system is broken. What if we were to look to our great God and get direction from him on how to become healthy and wealthy and wise? That's what these commands do. God promises if you keep these commands, he will bless you. You will live long in the land. You will prosper. You will enter into lands that were inhabited by people who were bigger and stronger than you, people who were wealthier than you, and you will move into their furnished homes and reap the crops that they have sown and nurtured, that you will get the benefit of other people's labor, because there will be a transfer from the wicked to the righteous. And that's what took place in the promised land. And yet there were certain people among the Israelites who said, I don't want to enter in. We're comfortable where we are. The problem with being comfortable where we are is that God is always calling us forward. That's why they lived in tents. The people were to move from place to place because they could never stop. God was always saying, forward, we're going forward. And it's the same way in our spiritual lives. We should always be going forward. We should never come to a place where we think we have it all figured out. That's how pride creeps in. If you think you understand the Trinity or any other doctrine, and you think you have it mastered, and you think that there's nothing more you can learn, pride has crept in. And that's why it's so important that we keep all of the commandments, including keeping the Sabbath. We should devote an entire day each week just to thinking about who God is. And you know what happens when people don't keep the Sabbath? God's like, you're going to take a break. If we drive ourselves too hard, we will often find ourselves getting sick and having to take a week off as we recuperate. God even wanted the ground to rest. And God in his kindness was saying, don't be like those other people. Be careful. Here's a warning. Destroy them completely. Have nothing to do with the people as you go into those lands and you take over what I am about to give you. But also don't be afraid. Yes, they're bigger than you. Yes, they're stronger than you. Yes, they're mightier than you. Yes, they have these huge cities with walls that reach up to the sky. But don't be afraid of them, because the same way I took care of Pharaoh and his army, I'm going to take care of them. And I will push them out. I'll even send hornets out there to chase them away and make sure they never come back. Just trust me. And I want you to take an entire day once a week to think about why you can trust me and how you can trust me, because it takes intentionality to have faith. And may God increase your faith. May he increase your faith to keep the Sabbath, because that takes faith. How am I going to get all this other stuff done? May he bless you as you seek him. And may he open your mind to receive the truth from him. This is not anything you should take my word for. Study the word yourself and you hear from God, and then you'll know if it's truly God's will for you. God bless you, my friends. Thank you for being on this journey with me through the word of God in 2020. We'll see you tomorrow.